Warning: this show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewers' discretion is advised. This show may contain strong language and sensitive or controversial topics. We are not attorneys and are not providing legal advice. The views and conversations are our own thoughts and feelings, and therefore, purely speculation.
The entertainment world and beyond.
Skywalker air miles, feeding on a surface, gliding on water, constricted and conflicted.
Welcome to Purely Speculation, a show that exposes the harmful effects of the criminal legal system. I'm your host, Heather Lewis, the Executive Director of the Reuniting Family Bail Fund and practitioner of participatory defense. On this show, you'll learn about the unspoken horrors of the criminal justice system and meet fierce allies and advocates. We will make the best of our traumatic experiences. We will get angry. We may even cry. We most certainly going to laugh, but one thing's for sure, we're going to keep it real. Welcome to Purely Speculation.
When they free my sins and let them loose, they was killing me, I got scars to prove, got me paralyzed, I could even barely move. Out the way I took the pain again.
Hey, y'all. Welcome. Boy, we're like season 3, episode 31, volume 31. I'm like, I don't have my notes. We're out of town. Apologies if there's any technical glitches or anything like that. The internet in the hotel is really crappy. So before we get started, I just want to say welcome, Scotty. I just want to send prayers, love, and light out to all of our family, friends, loved ones, people in the Caribbean, Jamaica, Haiti, Cuba, Bahamas, all of those that are impacted by Hurricane Melissa that has touched had landfall a few hours ago. Just keeping them in prayers. We've been hearing it's devastating, hurricane forces, the worst storms in the Atlantic. So I just want to send our love and prayers and light out to them as they deal with this massive hurricane, and pray for no loss of life in time. So set it up. Scotty and I are out here in San Jose, California on a so we're here learning about strategy on how to people so all changes we can utilize to Taria has done significant work on
We lost Heather. But the show must go on. We're here in California at Participatory Defense. We're learning some new ways to help our people back home. We're learning about how to negotiate pardons, how to use AI when we write papers to our different inmates so that they know how and what to do when it comes time for parole. We're also learning about how to engage the DA's office and the public defender's office. So we're here trying to boost up so that when we come back, we have some ammunition to help our people in the struggle. It's been a rough 2 days trying to cram a week's worth of information and learn different things, but it's all been worthwhile. Taria, I see you're back. I thought we had lost you. Taria?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay. What you got good for us?
No, I'm just still rocking and rolling with the arraignments,
Uh,
and the bail reviews. I went in person, a couple in-person hearings, in front of Judge Jones, a couple weeks ago. Preliminary hearings. It was a different feel to be in person, but they got some new ADAs, new public defenders, and apparently they're going to change where every preliminary hearing is now going to have an ADA present, because they're filled to capacity to be able to do that, to have an ADA in every preliminary hearing now, instead of the cops running the show. They're going to have a district attorney there from the start. The bail review. Go ahead, I'm listening.
yeah, so we won't have the police officers there now. We'll have an ADA.
Yeah, police officer just will probably be second tier, but you'll have an ADA there.
Yeah, which is assistant district attorney for people who don't know.
Yeah. So I've seen some interesting cases. Oh, I guess we lost Mr. Scott also.
No, I'm here.
Okay. So I've been on the bail reviews also. They've been pretty interesting. Weekly they have a different judge on the bail reviews. Each judge does a bail review weekly for 5 days. And it's been interesting because lately I've been seeing some of the municipality judges, the lower magistrate judges, give no bail. It comes down to they just deny the bail because they can't make a decision. So they let it go through the common courts of pleas and let the judge there decide the bail. So a couple bails were denied where the common court of pleas had did the bail for the lower courts because they couldn't come up with a number, or they just didn't feel comfortable giving a number, so they just denied bail altogether. I know I'm waiting for the guy that got arraigned the other day that hit the 2 police officers in Plymouth Meeting. He's being charged with attempted murder on 2 police officers. He got bail denied. So they're doing a special hearing for that one because they asked for bail to be denied. And if the judge didn't feel comfortable denying the bail, then they asked for $5 million. So they did a special. Usually they put them on bail reviews, and he wasn't on today. I was a little shocked because he wasn't on today. So they doing a special hearing for him because I guess they want to make sure that number that they want, Commonwealth wants, they're going to get. Had a lot of FOJ cases, that's fugitive justice cases coming around. A lot of old warrants, a lot of people being picked up for warrants that's well over 5 years old. That's been coming in. Failure to appears, we've been getting a lot of them where people are getting summons to come to court and they're not getting the documentation. So they're getting a failure to appear. So they're getting arrested on a warrant and then they got to get arraigned.
Taria, hey y'all, I had to go outside, so now y'all get to see the palm trees and the beautiful blue sky that's behind me. But those FTAs, I don't know if there's and it probably would have to be like us looking at it like who the original judge was, because only Judge O'Neill is doing like those FTAs, those bench warrants. Like, you miss one court, yeah, they're going to give you're going to get an FTA, but he's signing judge only bail so that he has to hear the case, and he makes it very clear that if you miss a court date, like, you're going to sit until you go to trial or you take a plea deal. And also, too, you said people are not getting notice. He does not, his court does not send out notices. They do not get notifications in the mail. He's expecting and demanding people download the e-docket and navigate that for their court dates. And I mean, I just don't know how that's an acceptable form of notification if people are not tech savvy or do not have the resource of a smartphone or someone near them that has a smartphone to let them know when their court date is. I just think that he's setting people up for failure. And I don't know how we find that out.
Yeah, so that's funny that you said that, because one night judge one of the judges was on, and he had asked me, were we able to help a young gentleman that was on with a 10% bail. And I told him I had to text my colleague, because I know that they've been given hard time bailing out on 10%. And also Judge O'Neill, I replied that message you gave me about Judge O'Neill doing the bench only bills. And the ADA, she was a little bit shocked about that. And she wrote that in her notes, and she was like, oh, I didn't know that. When did that start? So
the beginning of the year?
So some way everybody's not on the same page down there. And
he's the only one doing it.
Yeah, and why I say that is that sometimes it's a lot of clerical errors. Like, for instance, last night, a guy that came in, he had the wrong date of birth, the right date of birth, the wrong social security number, and the wrong name. And they wanted Judge Gallagher to pretty much arraign him and give him cash bail and on an FOJ for New Jersey failure to appear. And he said,
crazy.
Yeah, and he said that, you know, he gave him unsecured bail, but he also said that he knows for a fact that it has been some clerical errors, and he doesn't want to arraign this guy, give him this cash bail, and it's not the right person. Right. You know, and that has happened. You know, that has happened in the past where they pick up the wrong person. And it was funny because the ADA came back with, well, sometimes some people have the same date of birth and then she said they have the same social security number. That's not how that goes.
No, they absolutely do not.
Nah,
they might have the same date of birth, same name.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but when she said the social security number, it kind of like blew me. And I don't think I think she misspoke. I don't think that she meant to say that. You know what I'm saying? I think she meant to say just the date of birth. You know what I'm saying? But she had to think about it when she said, oh, well, sometimes some people have the same social security number. Or, well, he obviously must have been using the social security number because it's one number off.
Or obviously it could have been a mistake by the courthouse. Why do you assume that the individual made the mistake?
Yes, and that was the comeback argument that Judge Gallagher and Point made, was that sometimes when you're typing too fast, somebody in the clerical error could have just put in the wrong number. You know what I'm saying? So you can't just 100% blame, you know, this man for this error, you know, because, you know, it happens, because, you know, and he's been around a long time, over 20 something, you know, years, you know, he's been around. So, you know, he was a police officer first, and then he became a judge. So the whole thing in a nutshell is that I'm just glad that he made that aware, because we have seen that. We actually seen a lady that got arraigned a couple months ago in a corrupt organization here, and come to find out, it was not, it wasn't her. You know, it wasn't her house. It wasn't her.
Wow.
They had the same. The her and the person they were looking for had the same first name, but didn't have the same last name, and had a different address. So this woman went through. Thank God it stopped at the preliminary hearing, and her, you know, charges got dropped and withdrawn. Right. But now that stands for a possible civil suit.
Right, and that arrest is on her record. She has to get that expunged.
Yeah, exactly. Because and what people don't know, and I don't know if people know this or not, they Pennsylvania is not a automatic expungement state.
Right.
So when these lawyers tell you that or these PDs tell you that, oh, you're going to get your record expunged of, even with the ARD program, if you do not go down there and get that personally withdrawn off your, expunged off of your record, either you do it yourself, you hire somebody to do it, or or you go through a clinic, a free legal clinic, then you're not going to get that off your record. You know what I'm saying? And even though it's null pros, it's still going to come up on your record. Because I had to go down, so I had did expungement on 2 of my cases, and I had went down the other day to legal aid because I haven't heard anything about the case at all. And it's been, I think I did these expungements about 2 years ago, and I did it through the legal aid free clinic. They came to the Carver Center one year, and Erica was the lawyer at the time, and she was doing expungements. So I put both of my expungements through. One was an ARD expungement, and the other one was when I got charged with some charges that I wanted off of my record. So long story short is I haven't never heard anything. So I went down to clerks of courts. They don't know nothing. They don't see nothing. Nothing's coming up. So they tell me I have to go to the legal aid's office. So I went to the legal aid's office, and come to find out Erica's no longer there. So I'm like saying to the lady, like, well, I don't have any kind of proof that my record is expunged of, like, can you please give me some kind of clarification that, it is expunged of? So she looks it up, and she only finds like a piece of paper of something that's saying that, I guess an email that Erica left, a while ago, like about a year ago, that she said that she emailed me. I went in my archives. I didn't see anything. And she just said that, everything was done. It was cleared. So fast forward, I go back down the other day because that was only for one of them. So I go down to clerks of courts the other day, and I speak to the other lady that's down there at the clerks of courts named Erica that works with expungements. And she was saying she couldn't find anything. She could find something for 2012 and 2015. And I was like, well, what did I get charged with in 2012 and 2015? So when I looked it up, it did nothing come up for me. So she said, well, that means it's expunged. But then when I looked and I dropped one of my last names and just put my marriage name, it came up as my old charges that should have been expunged. So now I have to revisit that situation again, because what did you expunge? Because that is not off my record. Like, it's still coming up. It's coming under closed, but I had to go under closed. You know what I'm saying? And that's what people don't realize. Like, sometimes you have to go under different things, because what I'm learning too is that even with defendants that still have active cases, some of their stuff is closed. And I don't understand that at the preliminary hearing, they close it out, but I don't understand why, because it's still a pending charge. So that's a little weird to me. So I just say, just to say that if you are, going forward with expungement, and I hear y'all, talk about y'all out there about pardons, expungement and, a pardon is a way bigger ball game than expungement. I mean? Pardon is basically, that comes in the rim of getting that, pardon like it never even happened. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that people need to really be educated on also. But just to be educated to know that Pennsylvania is not a state that has automatic expungement, and you have to either pay somebody to get your record expunged, or if you qualify for free legal representation through the public defender's office, they give a expungement clinic, I believe, every 4th Tuesday of the month via Zoom, or you can go to legal aid on Sweet Street and see how, if you qualify for that service. But I just want to let people know that you have to just do what you got to do and your due diligence.
Right. One of the things we learned, not only here, but just through our, the listserv and the network, and working with other folks, other hubs in other cities, and finding out like what they've done to bring people home. One of the things, and we may have to think about this and see, who we can organize, because there's enough movement, people in this space in Pennsylvania. And we may have mentioned this before, but I think there were 12 names that were submitted for geriatric clemency. And Governor Shapiro denied all but one. I'm not sure if it was his office or the Board of Pardons. The Pardon Board denied all but one. And one of the ways other hubs have gotten success is by camping out at the governor's mansion. And so I say this to say that if there's anyone in Pennsylvania that has a loved one that is on geriatric, care, that meaning that, they're literally on their deathbed. That's some of the qualifications that you have to meet to qualify for geriatric parole, right, Scott? And you can chime in if I'm
Right.
wrong, but it's like you have to be within a year. Like you have to have a prognosis that you got a year less to live, and terminal illness and things like that, right? And these folks were recommended. 12 people were recommended for geriatric release, and then denied 11. Like, make that make sense. What are your thoughts on that?
And one person that they approved, he died before he even got out of jail.
How about that?
Yep.
Died in jail. So the one person that was approved died before his paperwork got processed.
Right.
And how long does that take? It could take weeks, months.
It could take 2 hours.
Or it could take 2 years, right?
That depends. Yep.
Right. And so I think, right. I think, I'm not there. There's all of these protests that are happening, the No Kings and obviously the stuff that's happening with ICE. But, these new threats that are happening immediately. And now the SNAP benefits, and everybody's rallying around to make sure that their neighbors have food. And it's like, when are we going to rally around the people, our loved ones that are behind bars, our loved ones that are in cages, our loved ones that are dying in prison? They're no threat to the community. They're no threat, to recidivate, none of that stuff. And the pardon board and the governor still refuse to release them. Where's the compassion? We have compassion for all of these to make sure our neighbors, are eating, and we're standing in the gap for our immigrant community. And and please use immigrant community, because it's not only Hispanic people that are under the threat of deportation or ICE or immigration impacts, from ICE. It's every immigrant. And the other thing and I'm jumping all over the place. The other thing that we learned while at least I did in one of my sessions, is that it's not just undocumented and so-called criminals that are under the threat of ICE. It's people that are here on different types of visas. So if you get a traffic stop, you get a traffic ticket, you have a domestic situation, you have any type of police contact, your immigration status, regardless if you legally or not, it comes under threat. Like this is a potential immigration consequence. Even though you're here legally. We've been seeing it in the news that people are being deported. American citizens are being deported. You know what I mean? Again, because of human error or whatever it is, or they're just overzealous and they're going to get somebody today. But like, these are the things that are happening, and these protests, while yes, we need to bring awareness to it, but there are so many things that are happening to our people, and illegally and violently, and ultimately deadly, that we need to be protesting. We need to be standing in the gap for. It's not just, the president that's doing all these other things. These things have been happening regularly. The things we're talking about happen daily. Did not happen because of the current administration. These things happen on the regular, I guess is the point that I'm trying to make, because I'm not trying to take away from any of the things that are happening right now, but these things have been long-term, ongoing, and up until now, nobody has said a peep. They haven't protested. They haven't done anything. They just act like this shit doesn't exist. And it's frustrating, because this happens daily. You know what I mean? People are dying in cages daily, when the governor, the pardon board, with the stroke of a pen, and like you said, Scotty, in 2 hours, they could be home with their family in a facility that has the capabilities of taking care of them, and not prison, dying alone. You know what I mean? And then you talk about how hardened, criminals are, people are on the inside. Guess who's holding these people's hands as they transition? Other inmates. Other inmates. Imagine that. These hardcore criminals, murderers, this, that, third, the third. They are the ones that are
Providing,
as they transition.
right.
Go ahead, Scotty. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
For providing hospice care for the elderly and the sick patients in jail.
Absolutely.
Happens with this whole avenue is that they are worried about victims coming in saying, why'd you do this and why'd you do that? Why'd you let them go? Why'd you sign that release when my person isn't here, or my cousin was maimed and crippled, or whatever the situation is? They do not take into account that prison is supposed to make you a better person.
Right.
And if you still feel that prison didn't make this person a better person, then why are you sending this person to jail when nothing is going to happen, if everything stays the same? So you have to take into account that either your system works or it doesn't. You can't have it both ways. And that's the way that they treat people who are inside trying to get out. That, oh, he's still an animal, he's still so-and-so, but you're paying millions of dollars a year so that I'm not considered an animal, okay? That you are rehabilitating me, that I can come out on the street and make a good life for myself. That's what you call prison. But if you're going to hold me in there because you feel a certain way, then you're wasting your tax dollars. Your tax dollars are for naught.
Excellent point. Excellent point. Yeah, so we're going to start calling on all those protesters that are, marching in the No Kings, the thousands and thousands and thousands of people that protested. They coordinated and organized, and across the country, there's thousands of protests for No Kings. And we're going to start to challenge them to, protest and sleep at the governor's mansion all across this country, not just in Pennsylvania, demanding geriatric relief for our sick and elderly loved ones that are behind bars. Taria, anything else that was going on court in the last couple of weeks?
No, just pretty much what I just told. I said, just a lot of just the FOJs, and the failure to appears, and a lot of mental health. So the level of care assessments. So I found out the other day that the level of care assessments are not done through mental health. It's only done for substance abuse. And they're being done in like 48 hours now, because they have a lady that's working through pre-trials with it now. And it's basically just for substance abuse. So basically, if you have a substance abuse issue, other than that, mental health won't help with the level of care assessments.
Oh, so they've separated the level of care.
Well, just found that out the other day when the lady Jordan that took over the level of cares, she came back. She used to be something before, and she came back part of the supervisor of the level of cares through pretrial services now. And that is that's what she had mentioned the other day. Like I said, if you don't hear stuff from different people that's in the RIM, you won't hear it or you won't know it. Because like I said, I'm not just shocked, but some of the PDs, some of the ADAs, they don't hear this stuff either. So like I said, some people don't communicate well.
Well, and I would say that that's the county or the court administration, whoever it is, who's ever responsible for sharing this information is clearly not sharing it. They're just unilaterally making these administrative decisions and not telling the people that it impacts, which is not uncommon. But you know what I mean? Like, how are you, this system's supposed to be, you know what I mean? Work, like Scotty said, working in a certain way. And they even shooting their own selves in the foot by not doing their due diligence and doing their job. Like, if people just did their jobs,
And the problem with that is that when those things change, when they change from one scope to another scope, that is supposed to be public knowledge. It's supposed to go out for everybody so that
right,
we know what's going on there at the courthouse. Okay? What's going on if you get arrested? What's going on if you're on probation or parole? If these things change and you don't know they changed, how do you deal with them head up?
right.
Oh, I did have a big hearing in person just a week ago,
Uh-huh.
a week or two ago. Yeah, so I don't know if how familiar you are guys with Miss Judge Ash.
Yeah.
Judge Ash gave a bill a little over probably 6 months ago. Maybe I might be wrong, but it was
I think it was the
it was a
beginning of the
while ago.
summer. I think it was the beginning of the summer.
Yeah, for a young man that was out of Allentown and he beat his girlfriend, his pregnant girlfriend, like down on video,
Right.
and it made headline news. And she gave him $75,000 unsecured bail. So they went and they did an emergency bail hearing, and they came, brought him back in, and they raised it to $500,000. But my understanding, he bailed out on that anyway. So something else happened where he ended up bailing out on the $500,000 anyway. So it was like basically you came back to make her look bad, and you tried to run her down in the gutter. So behind that, it came a lot of backlash. So pretty much what Shaka Johnson's going through right now with this case in Philadelphia.
Right.
So Judge
and
Ash
let's talk about that. So don't forget.
Yeah. So Judge Ash has a duty to do. You know what I'm saying? A duty and a job like every other judge. And she only goes off of what she gets in front of her face. They don't get all the intels. They only did this is just for bail. She's not the preliminary judge. She's not the one doing this case. And behind the backlash, the chief of that district went on Facebook and started taunting at her. And behind him doing it made a mockery for other people to feel as though that they could do it.
Right.
So this young lady decides to go and start doing hate threats and harshful words against Judge Ash. Yes. So this young lady came to her pretrial conference last week. She had it in there, and they told Judge Ash she don't need to be there present. I don't know why they don't want her there present. I got that feeling as though she has the right to face her accuser. You know what I'm saying?
She does. Yes.
So, she's just like everybody else. She's just a little bit higher up as a judge. But she's still human. So she had, someone go in her place. So I went in to do a court sit-in to see what was going on. But before that happened, they actually wanted to see if she would work with lowering the girl's charge from a felony down to a misdemeanor.
Right.
Just like a harassment or something like that. Terrorist threats, but a misdemeanor. And she said, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So they kept the felony and they kept the misdemeanor. So she had got terroristic threats, and she also got something like intimidation, like a hate, like racism and all things like that behind a group, bias group. So she took over.
One question. Did they have because remember with Davlin, remember she had a specific charge that was for like people that worked in the courts, right? There was a specific charge like threats against
a court official, right?
Court official, yeah. So that she should have had that charge as well.
So listen, so I thought that, right? But what I didn't like, and I'm not going to lie, and I did tell Judge Ash this, that they announced her in court. Now, this is in front of Rothstein, and they announced her in court as Denise Ash, not Judge Denise Ash.
Right,
Denise
right,
Ash.
right. Like she was just a
Like
regular person.
She was just a regular civilian person.
Right,
And I felt like on record, it bothered me.
right.
You know what I'm saying? I
Yes,
don't know how she
absolutely.
feels, you know what I'm saying? But it
Right.
bothered me because I feel as though that on record it should be Judge, Your
Yep.
Honor. You know what I
The
mean? Judge,
honorable.
Your Honor, whatever, the honorable.
Yes,
You know what I mean? Judge Denise Ash. You know what I'm saying?
absolutely.
Because it
Absolutely.
makes a difference. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? In the eyes of the courts. Because you're not
Absolutely.
respecting somebody that is higher than you. You know
And
what I'm
that
saying?
position, and that position,
And that position.
warrants different types of consequences because
Exactly.
she's that official.
Exactly. But they didn't give her no enhancements on that.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So it's an
Right.
open plea. So basically it's not and the girl's 24 years old. She seems like she's like probably like Arabic or something. She doesn't seem like she's from here.
Okay.
They speak some kind of Spanish, but she speaks English, but her and her mother was speaking Spanish to each other. She's a tiny little thing. She don't even look like, you know what I mean? I thought her mother was the defendant. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because I just didn't look to think that this young woman did this. You know, I just thought she was a little bit more, looked like a little teenager. That's what it looked like.
Right.
And I was shocked when she went up to do her plea agreement. And so she gets sentenced in 90 days. So she's going to probably get sentenced around December. So I'm just curious to what her sentence is going to be.
Right.
We know Judge Rothstein, and we know that Judge Rothstein, we know that she can sentence you up or she can sentence you down. And we know that she's a facts judge, and we also know that she plays by the books. So I am going to be very, very surprised to how she sentenced this young lady. Me personally, I think Judge Rothstein, even though the DA's office did not put on record that she was a judge, but she knows she's a judge. Right. And I think personally she might get state time.
Right.
Because she has a 0 gravity score, but the charges hold state time.
I was going to ask you what are the guidelines for sentencing on that?
The one is the felony 3 for terroristic threats is like a 2.5 to like 5. And the one with intimidation, that one carries almost 3 to 7 years.
Oh, wow.
So I know that her lawyer was saying that he was trying to fight for probation or home electronic monitor.
Right.
But I don't think Rothstein's going to make an example. Just to let her know that you cannot disrespect the official. You know what I mean? Like, you're not, you know what I mean? You can't do that. You know what I'm saying? Because if we start letting people disrespect officials, then what are they there for?
Right. And I'm curious, and I don't know if that passed. I know this current administration was trying to push almost like immunity for charges against law enforcement. I guess, that wouldn't apply in this because she's, Ash wasn't the one that committed the crime. So, how they're just trying so hard to protect, police officers and their bad behavior and poor decision making or their scariness for, choosing this profession that they're afraid to actually do their job. But we'll definitely keep that, at the forefront. We're going to watch that. But you had mentioned Shaka Johnson, and I think this plays into just how the bias comes in, right? Because how they intentionally left out the Honorable Judge Ash's title with when they're reading the charges. And again, this young lady, nobody's arguing that this young lady doesn't deserve a fair trial and a fair shot. I mean, that's what her attorney's there for. He's supposed to argue that for her. No different than what's the guy's name? Kata, the young lady that lost her life, King, right?
Right.
Yeah, like, I know, Shaka's getting a lot of backlash and things like that, but I mean, him, just like anyone else that, gets charged with a crime, deserves a defense. And if you understand, or whether or not you believe he needs to be roofed, he needs to be under the jail or over the jail or whatever it is, his constitutional right demands that he have representation. And, you know, how we fault anyone for doing their job and standing up. Like, we want, you know, attorneys to be brave and courageous and take on these cases, because it lets other attorneys and people know, like, if you don't, then the integrity of the Constitution, which is already under threat, you know, is weakened, because now it's like we are picking and choosing who's deserving and who's undeserving of justice or representation or anything that the Constitution affords them. You know what I mean? So yeah, we may not like what he did. Of course we don't. It's tragic. But at the end of the day, the Constitution says he has a right to representation. So why are people mad?
And the other thing is, going back to what Teresa was saying about they left out the Honorable Denise Ash.
Mm-hmm.
As 3 black MDJs,
The only 3.
The borough, they do not get the respect. They do not get treated with integrity. They don't get the same splice that everybody else, those other judges in Montgomery County get.
Right.
They sit back and just wait for them to make a mistake, and then they're the worst judge ever. They do not like the fact that these 3 black judges are in office. They don't like the fact that we're just as good as everybody else.
Right.
And when everybody else makes a mistake, you hear nothing. But the minute something happens in one of those 3 courts, then it's all over the place. Oh, they did this, they did that. And the same thing in common pleas court. All the black judges don't go into court anymore.
Yeah, they're not a single one is on criminal court.
Right. They hide them back in the room. You don't even see them anymore. Because what they're doing is changing the landscape about how black and brown people are charged, how black and brown people are sentenced, and also let us know that you might put them in office, but we still run the show.
Right.
And that's what us, as voters who vote, have to let them know that but we vote and we're in charge. That's why you have to go out and vote, because get rid of the tyrants that run the slave ship.
Yep. Shit, get rid of the slave ship. Burn it all down.
That's right.
Burn it all down.
And it's funny that you say that, because that's the tally that I've been taking. And I've been definitely watching, like you said, when Judge Ash is on, Judge Jones is on, and Judge Barnes. And it really, I've been writing them notes, because I've been letting them know, you know what I'm saying? Like when they did a bell and another person did almost a similar bell with the same almost similar situation. Like the other day, like I learned with Judge Barnes, he's smart. And I think he's smart on 2 ways, because, you know, he's a lawyer and he also used to be an ADA. So he knows how to think like a lawyer, and then he knows how to play like a prosecutor also. So he can turn both remedies on. And I know when someone comes about with him, and I already know when he's going to deny the bail, because he doesn't want the scrutiny like the other ones is doing, because that's what he knew is going to come. Right. So what he does is the just protect his own self and his own wit to having to hear all the backlash. He just denies the bail, and this way nothing can be said. You know what I'm saying? Right. But like he said, he, you know, other judges don't have to work the same way he do, but this is just for himself because he knows
Right.
how dirty they can play.
Right.
So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, this is just his tactic. So I already know if you come in front of him doing any kind of child pornography stuff or anything with children, he's denying the bail.
Right.
You come in front of him with any kind of rape or any kind of indecent exposure, he's denying the bail. You come in front of him with any kind of, so I mean the murder thing. So I didn't know if you guys knew this, but murder charges no longer are going to be held by the lower courts. So when you are charged with murder, you're going to go straight to common courts of pleas. You're not going to even arraign them.
Right. And like Scotty said, like who made that decision and how, like, isn't that, I mean, that's the process.
That
All
should have been a
arraignment started at the
referendum.
MDJ, like how the jurisdiction, what'd you say?
It's something with a
That's
jurisdiction
a
issue.
referendum that would be on the ballot for this
Right.
voting stage. That's not nothing that Kevin Steele or President Judge can say.
Right.
Happen. But they do what they do because they know that they don't get backlash. But yet
Right.
still you're giving the MDJs the backlash.
Right. And who would you report that
They want
to?
to do it.
Who
But
do
that's
you?
the good question. That's the good question. And the funny thing is
Attorney
that,
General?
yeah. So last night I seen something also that really, I'm not going to lie, it kind of what's what I'm trying to say to be nice. It kind of made me very upset because I seen last night, we know that Cheltenham always has their defendants behind bars.
Uh-huh.
And a couple months ago, about a month or two ago, Judge Barnes was on for his own call, and he asked, "Could that defendant come out of that cell?" And the detective or the officer that was on specifically said, "No, he cannot." And last night, when the Judge Gallagher was on, the detective that was on last night in Cheltenham asked Judge Gallagher, "Do you want me to bring him out?" Because Judge
they know
Gallagher
Judge Gallagher going to tell you to bring him out.
because he don't play that game either. But I didn't like that. You know what I'm saying? Because
Right.
I felt like, when the African American, I don't want to call it a race card all the time, but it's just
It
the
is what it
fact.
is.
It's just
But
the
it
fact of the
is.
matter that when the black judge asked for that, he got no respect.
Right.
He actually got told no and a hang up. And
They
they
hung
called
up.
they hung up on him. They hung up off the Zoom and called pretrial services and said this person would be arraigned tomorrow.
Wow.
The thing is, that judge has jurisdiction over everybody in that courthouse. Okay?
Exactly.
And that when he said he wanted that defendant up in his courtroom, they were supposed to get that defendant and bring it up in the courtroom. But because he's a black judge, they know that nothing's going to happen if they disobey what he says. Because they've already got the word. The word is already in the courthouse
Right.
that they are second class. They are
Yeah.
second class.
That's wild.
And it's sad, you know what I'm saying? And it's really sad because even when I was down there today, I'm in courtroom A, so I don't know if people know courtroom A has all the judges that's on the bench pictures up in courtroom A. And as I'm going around the pictures, there's only 2 black judges on that 3. It's
Right.
a woman, I don't know who she is, and it's
I
Judge
think
Payne.
it's Austin. I think it's Cheryl Austin is in there.
Also,
This one looks like a younger judge.
Oh,
like-
it's Nicole. It's Nicole Tate Wilborn.
Okay, so Judge Tate's up there,
Mhm.
Judge Walker's up there, and Judge Page.
Right.
And I think they need to update it because I think some of them judges might have left or retired. So I
Right.
think it's time for them to update the rim because I didn't see Del Rich up here. Maybe I might be wrong, but I didn't think I saw them when I was going around at the court.
And you might have to read the names because they've been there a really long time. So when those portraits were painted, they were significantly younger. So you might not recognize who they look like.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right about that.
That's a really interesting thing, and it's like, how do we mobilize and move around to put the pressure on Cheltenham Police Department, because I'm sure nobody knows this. I mean, we're saying it on this platform, but who's watching, who's paying attention, who's listening? So it's like, okay, do we need to organize and go to Cheltenham and be outside their police department with signs saying, hey, you know what I mean, stop arraigning people behind the bars? You know what I mean? We need a tagline. We need to talk to the NAACP over in Cheltenham. Like, hey, this is what's happening in your community. This is what's happening.
I talked to the state rep. He told me he was going to mention something about that. I talked to the state rep a couple of months ago. He was up here at SRC, and I said something to him, and he said he was going to put that on the radar of,
Who was that, Napoleon?
I guess a black guy. The state representative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I did mention that to him. You know what I'm saying? And I just think it's inhumane. You know what I mean? I heard it's
Absolutely.
not against the law, but I just feel like, you can't really see the person. And I feel like they're not getting a fair look. And like, I feel like the truth is always when you can look me straight in my eyes. You know what I'm saying? But you see me through a bar, and the other day, I'm not going to lie. Right. We was on arraignment. I don't mean to laugh. But we was on arraignment and the man was behind the bar that shot him. And he was taking a piss while he was having an arraignment. And the judge is like, sir, what are you doing? And it was like,
you're in my house. You're in my room.
He's like, I'm listening. Yeah, it just was ridiculous.
Oh my goodness.
It was horrible. And I was just like, he was dead on camera, just taking a piss. He was like, I'm listening. And he was like, sir, what are you doing? So it's really crazy. So, if you guys don't know, we have a new judge coming in town that will be on a preliminary arraignment. He was on there the other day as he was watching John McMahon starting in January. He's going to be on the bench in Lower Merion. He's taking over for the judge that's retiring that I love. I call him Your Honor. He reminds me so much of the guy for Your Honor. And John McMahon was on Zerbin the other day, so he's leaving the criminal world and he's coming to be a judge.
Okay,
he's running on the post, so he will be the next judge of Lower Merion lower courts.
Okay, all right. Well, we have some call to actions on this one. We want a letter writing campaign to Napoleon Nelson. He is the state rep over there in like the Glenside, Abington area, to highlight the fact. Two things. One, Cheltenham Police Department is not bringing the individuals out of their cells for their arraignments. And two, they're denying when a judge of color requests them to become taken out of the cell. When other judges make that same request, they're obliged. So we're going to start a letter writing campaign to him, email him daily, often, write him letters. You know what I mean? That's the only way we get action, and he's going to have to do something about it. And two, our geriatric folks that are being held, dying in prison, even though they're not given life sentences. We're not talking about people that have been given life sentences that we're seeking geriatric relief for, even though we should be. But we're talking about people that have been given numbers and they become ill and they are dying in prison. When they could be coming home to loved ones or a facility that is better equipped to handle their care, and have people that are better equipped, in that hospice, that transition of life situation. So we can also sit.
Let me tell you real fast, and while you're saying all that, so I did share some pictures with you guys that I went to a exhibit on Sunday. Yes. It ran Saturday and Sunday at the Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia. It was a solitary confinement bus, and it was Journeys to Justice was the one that held it. And the whole path of that is that they're trying to do away with solitary confinement in Pennsylvania. So that's the fight for the justice of that. So they had a exhibit bus outside of the Eastern State Penitentiary building, and it shows you different people that were in. It was a man that was in solitary confinement for 44 years, and he came home and he died to a gunshot. He was a gunshot victim in Philadelphia. And you just see how it does people and how it's not humane for people to have that kind of living, and it could make people go crazy. So
Right.
when we sat inside the bus, they had 6 documentaries that you could watch if you push the button. So some was 8 minutes long, some was 20 minutes long. Depends on how long you want to sit. Then they had beds in there, like a prison bed in there with a TV, like how people be in prison with a TV in their cell. And you was able to like get the feel of how it is to lay in a bed in a prison and watch your TV. And they had the little porta potty where they had the whole camp of a cell where you just have the little board of view where you go to the bathroom, I guess, and then you got your little cellmates with your bunks and stuff like that. And then they had different kind of situations and people that had stories out of there. They had a pregnant woman that was in solitary confinement. It was definitely a good experience. And my daughter was my little one. She definitely said it was interested, and she was watching the documentary. And just pray for her tomorrow. She goes to court tomorrow. For her situation. I did already speak to her attorney today, and I let them know that I'm not letting her bow down to one charge. We're only going to take what she's guilty of. I'm not taking anything that she's not guilty of. I don't care. I don't care if you're just throwing at a expungement of 2 years at me or throwing a probation. I did that when China was 10, and I regretted it. And I'm not doing that I learned. You live it and you learn. And I'm not going to let that. No, we stand on what you did, the truth. You know what I'm saying? Accountability for what she did, but not something else that she did. And I just can't bend down to that bill.
Right. And have her draw on her experience of that, being in that solitary confinement exercise, and, really think about that. And if she's something that she needs to speak upon, if she has the opportunity to speak, tomorrow, might be able to help her and give some insight. Stand your ground, Mom. Stand your ground. All right. Well, we about at that time. I don't know if there's any WTF moments. We out here, like I said, in Cali with our debug fam, and as always, nothing but love. And so one of the things that we were able to do, and this is how so much love they show. We had an agenda for 2 days, and in the midst of that, we learned that there were 2 hearings happening today. One was an evidentiary hearing to see if someone could get back into court to be get a new trial or get resentenced, and then there was another one who had an ICE check-in. And so we literally rearranged our schedules, and 2 groups of folks, could go to either hearing or stay and watch the documentary Time 2 with Fox and Rob. And we went to the evidentiary hearing. Unfortunately, it was continued. It was nothing, they just need some more time. We did not hear back from the other group that went to the ICE check-in. Hopefully we'll run into Eladio later today and get an update. If we see him, all went well. That's all I can say. So Scotty, you got a WTF moment? I'm feeling good. I'm not cussing.
When the F are we as a people going to make the other people stand up and recognize that we are a force to be reckoned with? And if you don't give it to us and we keep asking, sooner or later, it's going to be taken. So just be mindful that we are sick and tired of being sick and tired.
That's right. Taria, you got a WTF moment?
Yeah, mine is just we got to just learn when to fight and when to fight and when to fold. So we got to just keep on fighting until it's time for us to fold. And I don't think
Yep.
that's going to be for a long time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, one day at a time, every day, it's maybe not in our lifetime, but we've got kids, we got grandkids, and prayerfully we'll get there. You know what I mean? Scotty's always talking about voting. We've got an election coming up next week, next Tuesday. So please exercise your right to vote. You know what I mean? It's so critical to our everyday lives and our daily living. Also, too, we have, let me get the timeline. We've got trunk or treat on Friday. So we're still, accepting trunkers and boothers and candy donations, volunteers, anybody that wants to get involved. Definitely you can hit us up, on the website or, phone, email, all of our social media. That's on Friday. On Saturday, we're partnering up with the Norristown NAACP for our civics clinic. So, it's not enough time to, register anybody or talk about candidates and things like that. But it's still general information. If folks want to get registered, they can register. It just won't be in time for this election. And so, questions you have, whatever it is, you want to learn more about the process and the electoral process, we'll be there on Saturday, November 1st. And then Smoking Whiskey on November 10th. It's a Monday. So if you want to come kick it with us and watch the Eagles beat up on Green Bay, that's Scotty's team. So we could talk trash like that. We're going to be there at Von C, holding it down, tailgating, supporting and bleeding green. And our last but not least, no, you don't get to say nothing. You don't get to say nothing because we got to shout out Exorist. She about to be our resident historian. Like, she just be breaking it down, and she brings out the nerdy in me that just is like, oh, this is just so interesting. You know what I mean? Just how she presents the information and the storytelling and just how relevant it is, to where we are today and how we got here, right? With some of the things and that we just don't even realize. And so I appreciate her. You're going to see her a lot more because there's just so much more history to tell and to understand and just digest and especially since they're trying to whitewash our history. So yeah, shout out to her. Like, follow us on all of our social media. And we see you when we see you. Scotty, you got to say something. You're probably going to say something about Green Bay, but go ahead.
Passionate about voting.
Yes.
But I also want you to be an informed voter.
Yes.
Do due diligence. These people that run to the church and all that and wanted you to do this, want you to do that. Please be informed because when they get in office, you don't never see or hear from them again till they put on your throat. So please do your due diligence. Be an informed voter.
Amen. 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 And with that, I say thank you. I love y'all. We made it happen. We got it. You know what I mean? Taria, I'm going to be on a blooper now because I'm somewhere not in an office. That's sitting down somewhere doing this podcast. So I appreciate y'all and I appreciate everybody for tuning in and having the patience with us and our technical difficulties. We'll see you in November.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Purely Speculation. If you learned something, share something. Please like, follow, and share this show. The more our communities know, the more they are empowered and the faster we can create change. Purely Speculation would not be made possible without the generous support of the Community Justice Exchange, the Health Sparks Frank E. Boston Black Justice Fund, Philadelphia Foundation, and Reform Alliance. Thank you. Booyah.
Intuition different, already lived and dreamt it. Visions make my vision clear as I'm jogging through this fucking life. I be fog lights with the fox set, body and I'm all set. Baby, can you be my Cardi B on an offset? Toast we got it, self we built.